Eat no man's food for naught. First Bible lesson, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3 verse 8. Neither did we eat any man's bread for naught, but wrought with labor and travail night and day, that we might not be chargeable to any of you. Second Bible lesson, Ephesians chapter 4 verse 28. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. Golden text, Luke chapter 16 verse 12. And if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? Brethren, that is the theme of our revelation this morning. It is what is called the recondite wisdom. This knowledge has eluded the whites and all humanity. Listen with rapt attention, for something spectacular has happened. When I look at you and the whole world, tears roll down my face, for you. You are all blind. You should be very observant. All the preaching I deliver from January to December are about myself. I have not read them from any book, neither have I read them from the Bible, but I have practically used them. They are therefore nothing but the truth. I thank God immensely for the Holy Bible. It has helped me a little, for, when I speak, I quote from the Bible. If the Bible were not available, people would have questioned the source of the teachings. I tell you, if I had not come, the whole world would have perished. It is a veritable truth, these teachings do not come from here. Think of it, somebody who has not been taught in any school yet he teaches. This is what shows, he is the supernatural teacher. If these Gospels are documented and circulated, they will save many lives, but I do not know what the people at the Gospel Center are doing. They do not write these Gospels out. Do you know, for you to eat somebody's food, for naught is an act of overdraft against you. It could be likened to having not a kobo in the bank and yet borrowing 10,000 naira. If you squander that amount collected from the bank, it becomes a debt to you. If somebody gives you something and you take it freely, you become indebted and may even die with such indebtedness. This is why many people in this part of the world die with debts. You deposit a small amount of money but borrow very much more, and lavish it. Don't you know, you are indebted to the bank, and that your indebtedness will lead you to your wit's end? It is also like somebody who signs a surety for another person, who goes to borrow money, say 2,000 naira. If he does not pay, you will be held responsible. If he does not pay, you will surely be held. Again, it can be likened to somebody who rents a bicycle, a room or any other thing for say 5 naira. The debt will be piling up, if he is unable to redeem it in the end. The natural law is, you should eat nobody's food for naught. Rather, you should labor with your hands to feed yourself. The moment you take somebody's food without giving back anything commensurate with it, that is reciprocation. You have contravened the law, and this leads to damnation. The situation can further be likened to somebody who wins a contract and receives part of the money in advance. Such people do not even do the work and are thus on their way to perish. This is what brings pandemonium and problems on us, because the moment you eat anybody's food freely, you have contravened the law. It is against this background that in the civil service you have to work hard to the end of the month, before you are paid. Anybody paid in advance has to work hard in exchange to merit the payment received. All of us are witnesses to the fact, if you go to somebody and he gives you food, the way you eat differs much from when you prepare it yourself. Similarly, your pattern of expenditure will be different, if you pick money from the ground from when you toil for it. Don't you know, when you enjoy the rainy season you are indebted to the dry season, and when you enjoy the dry season you are indebted to the rainy season? Are you not aware of this truth? This is why you are called all sorts of names, wizard, apparition, bloodsucker, juju, etc. They point accusing fingers at you. When you go to somebody's house he kills a goat for you, but when he comes to you, you fail to kill same in reciprocation. Don't you know he will go about to blackmail you? You have to pay back spiritually. That is why, in an accounting system, when you want to balance your accounts, and you have a 1 kobo surplus you have to find out and correct it, so they balance or else you will be imprisoned. Can you then not realize, there is an error? If not, why the surplus? Even if it happens in an office, where you can control millions of naira, the surplus of 1 kobo will have to be checked well to know where it comes from. In the same token, if there is a shortage of 1 kobo, you will not be set free. You will have to find it, because, if you fail you will be jailed. When you hear of accountants, they are blessed and are well versed in economics. Here, in this kingdom we believe in spiritual values. If somebody gives you 10 naira, and you fail to pay anything back commensurate with it, such a value is subtracted from your spiritual account. No, if somebody gives you 1000 naira, that will be taken away together with interest from your spiritual account to balance it. In this kingdom you cannot cheat anybody. The principle of live and let live operates, and you are to work for your daily bread. That is why, during the days of our ancestors, they were servants and slaves. They labored and toiled, and by so doing they were building up their spiritual accounts. They therefore became rich in no time. You must labor and toil with your hands, so in the end you reap bountifully. You must first of all labor with your hands, before you eat, but now the reverse is the case. Everybody goes about wanting to eat gratis. In this kingdom no one eats freely. You must work, before you eat. If you see any wealthy person today, know, he has suffered, toiled and labored. When you see such a person you say, he has struck gold. This is not so. It is just, because he has toiled and should reap his reward. The scripture says, whatsoever a man soweth he reapeth. Galatians chapter 6 verse 7. For you to bid somebody farewell without giving him anything, what sort of farewell is that? Don't you know, if you eat somebody's food freely you are worse than an armed robber. You can now realize why the children of the rich men cannot do well in education. Even before education reached the present height, the children of the affluent were not sent to school. They were told to stay at home and enjoy, while the slaves and their children were sent to schools. You can then see the state of those who labor. When somebody goes to school and after graduation builds a house, buys a car and enjoys life, you must remember, the suffering he has gone through can hardly be imagined. He goes through hard times and sufferings, and in the end people say, oh, he is blessed. It is not, he is blessed, but he is reaping what he sowed through toiling and suffering. All the Nigerians studying overseas labor 24 hours each day. Outside their schoolwork they do menial jobs to earn their living. Sometimes they move from where they live to other places only to labor to sustain themselves, and in the end they reap bountifully and enjoy from their sweat. You have heard, as the scripture says, if ye have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? Luke chapter 16 verse 12. You are to labor with your hands for your own, otherwise you lose much. Why our teachings are powerful is, we talk about our own city. I was not taught, neither did I receive it in any dream. If you go about begging, cheating and deceiving people, what do you think you are doing? If somebody should give me money, when I have done nothing to merit, I will ask why and will not take it. Think of how the bush rat reasons. Use the palm fruit as a bait to make a trap for it. On seeing the fruit he will know, palm fruits are always on top of the palm tree and not on the ground. If the fish is reasonable he will know, the bait is a hook and not free. He will therefore know, by taking the bait he is invariably swallowing the hook, which may kill him. You can now see why you must obey the natural law, by laboring and toiling for your own food. All the mistakes you make in your life emanate from the fact you do not want to labor for your own food. God does not give food to an idle man. You must always use your hands to labor for your daily bread. Even if somebody gives you something, it is equally subtracted from your spiritual accounts. I don't want any person in this kingdom to go about begging for what to eat. Do not place your hopes on your carnal father's and mother's wealth. Instead, use your hands to labor for your own. If somebody gives you something, you should do something for him in return. Even if that person is your parent, do not eat his or her food for naught. When you hear somebody is poor or has gone bankrupt, he is one that goes borrowing, robbing Peter to pay Paul. If somebody offers to take you in his car, do not enter freely. Give him something commensurate in value with the distance you cover. You see how the white men do it. If they travel from here to Nought, they calculate the meters covered and pay its exact value to the driver. If somebody gives you advice, for example, you should give him something in return, otherwise, the advice will not work. This is the first commandment man has lost. Do not eat any man's food for naught. Instead, labor with your hands for your daily bread. Look at Abraham. When his wife Sarah died, he went to the community in which he lived and informed them his wife had gone on eternal transfer. He then asked for land to bury her. Knowing Abraham was a good child of God, they offered to give him land freely. Abraham would not take it. as a free gift, so he brought a commensurate amount of money to pay for the land.